My name is Stuart Pickering and we're here today to go through bowl turning, and we're going to use a chuck and a wood screw chuck. We're starting off with a wood screw chuck to turn the base. So first of all we're going to screw this onto the spindle. I'm going to take the tommy bar. We've got a bowl blank here that we prepared with the setting gauge for the centre. So from that we can get the maximum diameter out of the bowl. These bowls have been cut on a bandsaw, so they're not 100% cylindrical, and this screws onto here all the way home, giving us a good tight register on the bowl. Bringing the tool rest along, and by hand we want to spin this so we're not making contact anywhere. And we're going to just raise that tool rest slightly. Now you can see that it's running out of balance because these bowl blanks have been cut on a bandsaw, so they're not 100% accurate. So what we need to do first of all is to true the diameter. This we're going to do with the use of the 3/8 bowl gouge in this instance. There is a bigger bowl gouge than this. There's an 1/2 inch bowl gouge for larger diameters, but this is fine for this diameter bowl we've got here. We're going to take a first cut very, very gently because we are intermittently cutting. And wherever we can, this is not a metal turning lathe, it's a wood turning lathe. If this was metal, we'd be starting here. With wood, we drop the tool on the rest and the bevel of the tool on the timber and very slightly pick that right hand up to make the cut. This is the hand that's controlling the cut, this is the hand that's keeping it steady. So very gently start to erode the timber so we've got a true diameter. A little bit more. Don't be too worried about the finish at this point. All we want to do is to get the timber balanced. So once we've done the diameter, we're going to come around this side now. Again with the 3/8 bowl gouge, and we're going to go to the centre and draw back. Okay, all the way back again. Don't worry about the finish at this point. All we want to do is to balance that piece of wood up. So there's our base finish. From this we're going to use a chuck. Now, this is a G3 chuck and it's got 4 jaws. And it's dovetail jaws. They're dovetailed on the outside and on the inside for gripping. So we've got to prepare a base ready for this to go onto. So we're going to take our dividers. This is a 50mm jaw. So we want the radius of this 25mm. So we can just gently score. Now you can see now, this is where eventually we're going to rip. The next tool we're going to use is a parting tool. And although it's called a parting tool, it's more used for sizing up timber. So we're going to make a cut, just go down the side of that marking to give yourself a little bit of clearance, and we're going to go in and we're going to produce this dovetail joint. We now can put the shape into the base of our bowl. You can see that we're getting quite a nice shaving from the timber, so that really means that we're getting a reasonable finish straight from the tool. So we are cutting, we're not scraping the timber. Keep the tool rest nice and close to the timber. Again, we'll just make an adjustment to keep it nice and close. Little knot in the timber there, which will make a nice feature, but what happens is that we can't travel as quickly over that because the knot is much harder. So we want to slow down, taking less timber off, which will start to build up our finishers. So there we are, we've got roughly the shape of the bowl that we want to produce. And now what we want to produce, we mentioned earlier with this chuck that this is a dovetailing, contracting and expanding. We're going to use it in contracting mode. So what we need to do is to create that dovetail there. I'm going to use a skew chisel. This is really a turn in between centre tool, but it's quite nice because we can get in and get that right angle there. Because we don't want to go too small, we want to be as accurate as possible for this. So we're going to take a skew chisel and we're going to go down there and we're going to produce that dovetail there, ready for our chuck to go onto. Right, now we can carry on and make some finishing cuts. So we're going to finish this section here first. We're going to roll that tool in, roll it in, and then again we're going to make sure the bevel is on the timber and very slowly roll this way. Again, that's where our knot is. Now you can see the shavings here compared to the shavings that we had with a 3/8 bowl gouge are much smaller. So we're going to get a nicer, cleaner finish to eliminate as much sanding as we possibly can. With bowls you will have to sand because we're cutting with and against the grain. But now what we want to do is to prepare this base very gently, because I say we're after finishes, and again as nicer finish as we can get. Now some people will remove this base afterwards, and I will show you the chuck and the way it's operated, but quite a lot of people like to leave this on. And we're producing this slightly hollow effect. So when we stand our bowl up, then this will have a very slight hollow in it, so it stands perfectly square on whatever we're positioning it on. A little bit more we've missed in the centre there. Then we can look at sanding. I've got 3 grades of sanding discs here. We have 180, 240 and 400, and we'll be finishing on the 400. So we've got a 240 grit on there at the moment. We're going to do a little bit of sanding. And you can see the Velcro pad follows the form very easily. And we're going to drop that down to a 240. Keep the sandpaper moving, otherwise we can burn. These pads do get quite hot. Let's have a look at how far we've got, and you can now see that we're starting to get something like we need. This is just going to give it another little nick in that corner there, where we've got a slightly bit of furriness, which is gone now. And then the final sanding will be with a 400 grit. Now depending on how far you want to go, these pads go down much finer than this, but what we tend to use, or what I tend to use after this, is either wire wool or the shavings, which will burnish. So down onto 400 grit. At that point there, going to bob down and get some shavings so we can burnish the wood and give it a nice finish ready for polishing or whatever we want to do on that. Right, there we are, and that's our bowl ready to be turned round. We're going to take this off the screw chuck. And we're going to take the wood screw chuck off. Replace it with the Nova chuck. Now you can see how important those dovetails are that we're going to bite up against, because it's biting, it's pulling the wood on and not just clamping around the diameter. Okay, now one point we want to raise sometimes, which happens with lathes with fixed headstock, is that you have this problem here where the tool begins to get, or the handle of the tool begins to get in the way. What you have with a rotating headstock is that you have the facility of moving it just slightly, and it eliminates this movement here nice and free. Starting with this end of the bowl, let's remember that the tool is doing the work. We're not, no white knuckles, we're not hanging on to anything. Once this tool has started to cut here, it will maintain that cut. This hand will guide it, but the strength of the tool is here. Just stopping the machine here. We don't want to be travelling in this position here. A bevel on the tool, we know we're going to finish here, but we've got to roll that tool in so the bevel keeps in contact all the time. If we do this, this is scraping, this is going to tear the fibres, and it's going to make it a lot of work to scrape and to sand afterwards. So let's finish off and get down to the diameters. Just checking our thickness as we go. But as we get towards our finish, we want to be slowing down. Again, when we're simple. Swap into a smaller gouge, to the quarter gouge. Very gently. We don't want to remove much in the way of timber, but we do want to cut it. All the way down to the bottom. Then we want to just finish off in the base with a scraper. We don't use it often and we want to use it as little as possible, but it is very useful for the base of your bowl where we've got that dimple, where the cut is finished. Remember, it's a scraper, we don't push it, we only pull it. Then we can start going through the sanding procedure as we did on the outside diameter. We'll go straight on to the 400 grit, and this will give you a silky finish. There is one point I keep mentioning about the keep the sandpaper moving. If we don't keep the sandpaper moving, we can burn, but sometimes a burn can be quite a nice feature. We can burn there and we can burn there, and you can see now we've got quite a nice feature on the bowl. The old beer tankers used to be done like that to stop splitting. So, and there we have a finished bowl.